Hello, Culture Matters podcast back again. Another 30 days of thought. Here's a quote before I introduce our excerpt. I am a forest and a night of dark trees, but he who is not afraid of my darkness will find banks full of roses under my cypresses. Friedrich Nietzsche. Thus spoke Zarathustra. The excerpt that I'm on today is pulling through page 110 of 30 days of thought, pulling through. Here's a quote. For the last 2 weeks and 42 excerpts, your past self has been pushed to the surface, and thus new thoughts and opinions have been created. You are overcoming the dark, and you have created new truths for yourself to be a better and brighter you. Do not give up, as we are all interconnected and you have meaning. So, the purpose of 30 Days of Thought is multifaceted. It's read to think every day. We're posed with a new thought to reflect on. In the book, there's room to write our thoughts actually in the book after each excerpt, write to develop, write to think, write to articulate, to develop clarity around what you think. Maybe what you think has changed. Maybe you haven't thought uh, on this topic before. And so something is arising within you to give clarity. Listen to hear what is unsaid. There's a challenge in 30 Days of Thought to actually film your thoughts, to film a video of what you think as it relates to the excerpt, as it relates to the topic at hand, whether it's life is a give and take, or conscious thought equals internal self culture, or carpe diem, any of the thoughts in the book, any of the topics in the book. And the purpose is to uncover your genius. If you listen to the Culture Matters podcast with regularity, you'll hear the purpose of the podcast is to uncover the genius of our guest. As host, I'm tasked with uncovering the genius of our guest by preparing for each episode from a biographical sense, from a content sense of as it relates to the guest, so that the content of the guest's life, what they've come to learn, what they've come to know, who they are represented in their where they've gone to school and what they've studied and for how long and where they've worked and for how long and what they did and what they're doing today. And I'm tasked with asking questions to learn, to discover, to uncover, with the purpose to uncover the genius of our guest, with the goal to make curiosity cool. This is an interaction between me and the guest that starts before the guest even comes on the show. 30 Days of Thought is taking that idea on an individual basis. It's you versus you. It's you reflecting on the book's thoughts, reading an excerpt, for example, on page 112, From Caterpillar to Butterfly. So easily, we so easily limit ourselves and those around us with our perspective without the slightest realization of how we have come so far. Writing your thoughts based on what you've read to for that challenge, for that preparation to go before the camera, just like I am doing right now. Before I turn this camera on, I reread page 110. I reread pulling through. This is a mile marker, one of three in 30 Days of Thought, to remind us the purpose of the book, to push us to keep going. This idea of the dark, this idea of conflict imposing creation, something in you, something in you has you listening to this, some urge to improve, some urge to know, some urge to strive, some urge to attain something, some urge to be someone, to evolve into a better version of you, just as much as there was an urge for me to write it. for me to now speak this. And the purpose of 30 Days of Thought is self-awareness, self-realization, self-development. Read, write, listen to your video, listen to what you put out there, listen to those that acknowledge it, those that affirm it, those that criticize it. Be open, be curious, lean into the conflict, the interpersonal conflict that will naturally arise or come into being as a consequence of putting your thoughts out in the world, the public square, the social media platforms. Don't just block or condemn or attack, but lean into the crowd, lean into feedback, speak. It takes effort, it takes courage to speak, it takes courage to speak, and it takes humility to listen after one has spoken, because the habit of speaking can very well easily caricature us into something that isn't us, some avatar, some martyr of some thought, some dead wood, some dogmatic caricature. No, continue to think, continue to strive to unlearn, to pursue, be humble in that pursuit of learning. Unlearn. Quote, I am a forest and a night of dark trees, but he who is not afraid of my darkness will find banks full of roses under my cypresses. 30 days of thought, the activity of reading to think, writing to develop, listening to hear what is unsaid, speaking to let go, going through all of the excerpts with that challenge to lean in to others' darkness. Don't be afraid of others' darkness. You may find cypresses under, you may find roses under my cypresses. You may realize what you have in common with your adversary. You may realize the person you thought was your enemy was really your mirror. You may realize that your enemy is your friend and your friend is your enemy. A person of knowledge must be able to hate his friends and love his enemies, Nietzsche. Pulling through is a reminder to not quit and to keep going. Quote, have you found your light? Yes, no, maybe. The potential possibilities are infinite, and the roads of everlasting light towards a divine understanding of self. Your personal power, no one can steal. You have been traveling through the dark and grappling against the invisible reverberation of unseen power surrounding your entire being. Every day you have read, written, and spoken your truth into the ether. Every day you have conjured up new thoughts, untapped energy, and dove headfirst into the dark to allow your light to shine. The beauty in your life, founded by energy. This energy is manifested into words, thoughts, and actions that affect you and everyone in your life. I'm reminded of Zoroaster, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The purpose of 30 Days of Thought is self-awareness, self-realization, self-understanding, self-development, the ability to, the willingness to write and think and embrace and reflect on things that might be scary, to actually share it, share what you share a part of who you are with others so as to grow, so as to evolve. Benefit from the consistency of speaking, benefit from the consistency of sharing yourself. We are in a new world. We are in a world where we are connected through technology representing who we are to the crowd. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, naked. We're naked. We're all deeply naked and afraid. And we've already been afraid of the world before being so socially intertwined and interwoven through these technological platforms, right? The existential angst of why are we here? Who are we? What is the meaning of our lives? Now we're connected through these social platforms, and clearly we're losing sight of our humanity in the subtle arguments and disagreements and how easily we kick our neighbor and cast people into oblivion, blocking and deleting and forgetting that we're all lost in this morass of humanity, of the unknown, and we can work together or we can work against one another. So 30 Days of Thought is about developing one's emotional intelligence, as they say, an actual process, an actual activity of self-understanding. It's not about dogmatically adhering to what the thoughts are or agreeing with them. It's really about thinking for oneself to the best of one's ability and sharing one's thoughts. It's really the the reader's book. Once the reader has the book in their hand, it becomes more of a process of their development. It becomes their book, their thoughts, their words. So the value of 30 Days of Thought is not to read the thoughts, it's to be inspired by the thoughts, to write your thoughts and to share your thoughts through video. And then there's a call to action of how to actually get the most out of what you share. And I've revisited this book over time. If you listen to Culture Matters, the Culture Matters podcast on Saturdays, we invite friends and talk about different excerpts of the book, and we digress in all sorts of directions around concepts and ideas and life experiences, and just like any friends would do around a campfire. And it all stems from not knowing where the conversation is going to go, and it all stems from 30 Days of Thought. This whatever thought we start with, it branches out into the unknown. So 30 Days of Thought forces reflection, and just like Beyond Order in Rule 9, if old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely. Maybe 30 Days of Thought is a pathway to, as Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forward. So pulling through is about not quitting, keeping through the process. We're on page 110. We've gone through 40 plus excerpts. Darkness only masks beauty, serenity, and creativity. Darkness is only a source of power due to cosmic, biological, psychological realities. All creation is birthed out of conflict. So, this idea that the thought is here, what do you think of the thought? There's going to be a conflict, there's going to be a friction, there's going to be a brushing up against. It's meant to be two rocks smacking up against one another, and fire is created. Fire is whatever can come of what you think of what has been written. Now go share it with the world, and that exponentially will create more and more ideas, more and more energy. And if it's collaborative and innovative and inclusive and empathetic and yet rational, who knows what could come of your 30 Days of Thought? A million people sharing their thoughts of the thoughts becomes a completely different book, completely different conversation. It's so much bigger than whoever pushed the domino first, which in this case, it would have been me, but I become irrelevant. I like a drop of water in a sea. I just float, become a part of this sea of thoughts, of interconnected truth with a capital T, in the sense that people are trying to share openly together. Keep pulling through. Pick up your copy of 30 Days of Thought if you haven't. Read to think, write to develop, listen to hear what is unsaid. If you're unsure and nervous, speak to let go. Listen to 30 Days of Thought on the Culture Matters podcast. There's with friends, there's many episodes with our guests that come on the Culture Matters podcast and participate in this book and see how, listen, take notes, observe what's to come of it. Maybe pick up a copy, get a copy for a friend, and go through it together and record it and have fun with it. And remember, it's your book, it's your thoughts, it's your process to actually reflect and develop your ability to think and to write and to speak and to share and to learn, to be the student for life. Share this with a friend that loves thought and has a desire to speak in public and to stand on that stage with confidence, or to write a book, and to who loves journaling, or even someone that hasn't thought in a long time that you think needs to bring them into it. Please leave us a review of the Culture Matters podcast and keep pulling through. We are reading page 110, 111 in 30 Days of Thought. See you next time.